Assalamu alaikum, family, and we are back with another episode of Maryam Alima. What do you know about Islam? I want to, of course, first come to you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, and who left with us our great eternal leader, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, along with our guiding light for today, our Messiah, the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their great names, I'd like to greet you again with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. And yeah, we're here. So I have been brewing on this topic for the past week and a half or so, and I really wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it too early or anything like that. I wanted to let it marinate for as long as it needed to marinate. And the topic of today's podcast is faith. Faith. Faith is, as we know, an action word. It is not, it's an action word. It's not an adjective, it's a verb. You know, first we're going to go ahead and let's just, why don't we? You know, it's funny. I parsed a few words in here that that's going to come out of the Quran, but I actually did not define faith. Let's see what the good old internet has to say faith is. Faith, complete trust or confidence in someone or something. 2, strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. A system of religious belief, a strongly held belief or theory. Yes, those definitions are absolutely correct. And of course, faith for us, or I should say for myself, and me relating it to Islam and just doing works, is not you have to act on that trust that you say that you have. So just mere faith and just sitting down and saying that you believe and do nothing. Well, wait a minute. It's in here. Oh, let me stop. Look, I was about to say something as if it was my own words. You know how you hear something but haven't heard it for a little while, and then you think it's yours. That is not me, y'all. I apologize. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, mere belief counts for nothing except it is carried into practice. Exactly. But it's just so true. You can't say that you have faith in something and then not necessarily move out or take certain actions. I understand that you can have faith and then be still, because that too, so the lack of action in that response or in that aspect is different. I guess you can, well, how would you say, your lack of action is an action? Being still, you have to actively be still, because you know what? It's a comprehensive stillness. So technically, I'm coming up with this as I'm going. But no, that's an active, conscious intent of being still. It's not having faith and just saying, okay, whatever it's going to be, like just whatever willy-nilly. It's, you know what? I have faith. If I've asked Allah to show me something and I haven't seen it yet, I've asked him. Now it's time for me to be still and wait and hear and listen out for that response. So you're actively being still in order to see and hear and receive the response that you're seeking. So it's that part, as well as moving out on faith. We want things. We are taught in the Nation of Islam by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad that we, the so-called Negroes in the wilderness of North America, we have to do for self. So when you say that you need some money or anything, you can't, of course, sit and say, all right, I don't want to be going to this white man's job or Sally Joe's job. I want some money, but actually, but I don't know I don't know. I'm not going to go out there and go get it though. See, that doesn't make any sense. That 2 + 2 that you're doing is not going to equal 4, because you're actually doing 2 plus 0. You're not doing anything. You have to move out. You have to take action. A great lecture I was listening to, Fear, Faith, and Truth by the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It was funny. I was at my mother's house, and I was working on a dog run for her dog. And so I'm digging these holes, and the dog is, he's tied up to the tree because I don't want him running around while I'm working in the yard. I'm not really much of I'm not a huge dog person, but me and him, like, so he's not my dog. And I've been attacked by 2 pit bulls before. I have a scar right here on my right cheek, and scars varies on my arm and other places on my body. And so I'm not too keen on dogs, especially big ones. And it's a pit bull. So, I mean, I don't necessarily want him running around jumping. So anyway, the dog is, tied up, secure, so I can get what I need to get done. But he ends up wrapping himself around a small little, she lives in the country, so like he kind of like wanders, like the leash that he's on is pretty long, so he's able to wander into the wooded area, like the woods or whatever. And so he got his chain, the link got wrapped around a tree, or like a tree trunk. And so he's like, oh, I can't move. And he could move, but he couldn't come all the way back out of the woods. And so I'm looking at him like, okay, let me see if I can just pull it and get him out without him like coming to jump on me, because I really didn't want him to jump on me. And I couldn't get it just by pulling on it. So I was like, I'm sorry, Zeus, you're just going to have to stay right here until Mother gets home. And so as I'm listening to Fear, Faith, and Truth, the minister starts to talk about, he speaks on, fear, and how dare we be afraid of anything besides Allah. And so I'm pulling on the chain, and I'm like, I know that I'm afraid to go into the woods to, I mean, it's not like deep, like say, oh my gosh, it's not deep, but like the trees hang over. So like you have to, the branches hang low. So I have to go underneath the branches. They're not, the trees and the branches aren't all up here. And so like there's a long trunk. There is a long trunk, but the branches are like all at the bottom too. Like they hang low. So I would have to bend down, go underneath where there's spiders. Like it's a lot going on. And so I'm just like, ooh, I really do not want to go in here. But the minister is just like in my ears. And it's like, so he was telling the story about him and the bull, and he saw the bull, and the bull saw him, and he looked at the bull, and the bull looked at him, and then he walked, and then the bull ended up turning around, walking away. And I'm just like, he's like, I won't gonna let that bull punk me. Which is so funny. We both are Tauruses, and our zodiac sign are bulls. So he was like, I'm not going to say that crossed his mind, but as a Taurus, that might have crossed my mind. Like, bro, I'm a bull too. What you want to do? So, anyhow, I'm listening to this, and I'm like, Maryam, if you allow this moment to pass, this moment right now, and pass you by, and not conquering this unreal fear that you have about this he's not a puppy, but he's not that, he's harmless. He really is. But just I had this engram of fear in me that wouldn't allow me to move. And I said, and I was about to cry because I was angry. I was getting angry, which was silly. I wasn't thinking as a God, but I was getting angry at Allah. I was like, Allah, you're making me do this now? And he's like, yes, right now. Are you kidding me? You hear these words, ignore them if you want to. And I was like, oh, Allah, yes, sir. It is, yes, sir. So I'm like, okay, Zeus, listen to me. Do not jump on me. I need for you to stay calm and chill out because I have to do this. And the minister was talking about, these animals are usually afraid of us. Why are we afraid of them? They know that Allah has given us dominion, but we feel as if they have all the power, which they really don't. You can take out an animal, which I would never take out the dog unless he tried to kill me or something. But anyway, that didn't happen. So long story short, I conquered my fear and I freed him. I went inside the woods. I went and got some shears and I cut some of those branches and I ventured inside of the woods and I unraveled him, and he ran out and ran around and was very happy. And I was very grateful to Allah that I listened. I would have lost, and Allah would have chastised me, honestly, because going back to faith, that means I didn't have faith in Allah that he could get me through that small trial. And fear, faith, and truth, I mean, they go so well together, like they marry each other. So I'm thankful to Allah that I'm moving past that fear and putting my faith. See, the faith, I had to have faith in him, but I had to act on that faith and push that fear aside. Another example, a mouse came into my house about 3 weeks ago, and I had to run out of the house and get the maintenance people and say, hey, there's a mouse. I don't know what's going on, because I keep my home is impeccable. Like, I have people, I have friends and family that be like, when I come to their home, they're like, all right, don't say anything, because I keep such a clean home. And the pest man was like, oh, it doesn't matter if your home's clean. Like, they ain't here to look for some food. And I'm like, well, then, I mean, I'm not keeping a clean home, so I don't have mice, but you would think that my chances of having mice would be lower, but no, that's not the case. Anyway, I was coming out of my kitchen and I thought I was dreaming, because it's like, okay, you're not supposed to be here. I didn't invite you to dinner. What? He ran into my room. Long story short, I told the man, if you could stay here while we pack our bags, because I have to go to my mom's house, because I wasn't staying with the mouse. I was like, I can't stay here if he's here. He now wants to live here. So I was going to relinquish my home to how big do you think a mouse is? A 4-inch rodent. I literally, not including the tail. I was going to relinquish my home that I pay the rent at. That's what he asked me. He said, so you gonna leave your house? You gonna run out your house because of a mouse? I was like, sir, I guess he wants to be here. I don't want to be here if he's here. But then I said, oh, and this was before the dog incident. And so I'm like, oh, Allah, if I say I fear no one or nothing but you, I cannot say that and leave this house because of a mouse. So, I mean, I was like, again, like, oh, Allah, yes, sir. Upset that I had to prove my faith, which is, I mean, astaghfirullah. But alhamdulillah, subhanallah. Thank you, Allah, for continuously putting me through these small trials, because you may think that they're minute, but they're really not minute. And I'm really thankful that they're coming back to back, because those are those small things that do matter. Like, if you're afraid of a mouse that literally cannot do any harm to you, now we don't want them in our homes as our pets. Michael he was kind of tripping. Ben had to go. Okay. But to allow something that teeny and tiny to run you out of your home, you have no faith in Allah. So I had to break the news to Alima that we were going to have to stay here in our home, because he came and he checked. He said, I don't see him. I'm pretty sure he must have ran out, because I was outside for at least 15 minutes before he even came in to check. So I don't know how he ran. Oh, he must have ran back out the way he came, which he came through the utility closet by way through the kitchen. Blech. Of course, I sanitized. But anyhow, we haven't seen we haven't seen any action. There has been no action. Thank Allah. I'm very thankful. And I'm very thankful that we stayed, because you have to act on your faith. Whenever Allah presents something to you and you say you believe, and then you do the opposite, you're really setting yourself back steps of progress each and every time you do that. Now, I'm going to leave that right there, because I was going to go off onto something else, but I haven't let it marinate. And you know how sometimes I'll go off on a tangent. So we'll leave that where it is. I do want to go ahead and read some other quotes that the minister gave in Fear, Faith, and Truth. Paul said, faith without works is dead. Facts on facts. Show me a man. He didn't say facts on facts. Show me a man with no works. I'll show you a man with no faith. Show me a man with faith, and I'll show you a man with works. That man said, I need some money. He had faith. He got up and moved. And guess what? Oh, brother, how you get all that land? I moved that on Allah. I made it happen. I called on the God and believed and made this bad boy come into fruition with Allah's help. Alhamdulillah. Jesus said, be ye doers of the word and not hearers of the word. Faith leads to success. Success is the fruition of faith. You have to complete your goals in order to show that your faith was true. He who can alter your state of mind, alter your faith in the ability to achieve an objective, is he who has kept you from manifesting reality. I believe the minister was talking about the power of the white man gaining control of our minds. Right there. I implore each and every one who comes across this particular podcast, if you have not heard that lecture, Fear, Faith, and Truth, I'm going to keep saying it. It is a gift. It's a true gift. I believe I cried a few times. It is, I don't know. I'm in a place where Allah needed for me to hear that, and I was, with Allah's grace, able to receive that message. And I'm so grateful, especially in this particular time right now, with this pandemic, with this crazy election, with Congress the way that it is. Right now, I'm sitting on faith. I stopped working and put my faith in Allah to be able to maintain with the money I am receiving, and gearing up to launch my own business. I was already doing catering, but I don't necessarily want to go out there and necessarily meet with the people anymore to do that catering. So I'm setting it up so I can do that catering and mail it out. So enough on that. But I'm still working. I'm working within that faith. Allah destroyed the impossible when he created the heavens and the earth from nothing. So says the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Anything you set your mind to, it can happen, because Allah has already eliminated the possibility of the impossible. That part. Now it's time to go into our Quranic reading. Listeners, and first of all, kudos to you for thinking me worthy enough of your time. I appreciate you. I appreciate your feedback. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave your comments, be whatever they may be. Those listeners that are on other platforms such as Anchor or whatnot, I thank you. Thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. Again, it's helping me continue to work and study as well. So I really do appreciate it. So our Quranic reading today, I've already prayed over my Quran. It's coming out of Surah 49, Ayat 7. And know that among you is a lost messenger. Were he to obey you in any matter, you would surely fall into distress. But Allah has endeared the faith to you and has made it seemly in your hearts. And he has made hateful to you disbelief and transgression and disobedience. Such are those who are rightly guided. A grace from Allah and a favor. Allah is knowing wise. So I found that passage to be poignant not poignant, but to be very applicable to, well, I mean, it's about faith. I looked in the back of the index for faith, and of course there's many examples in faith throughout the Quran, the light. But I thought this particular ayat was great because it says, if the messenger were to listen to us that he was delivering the message to, we will surely be in distress, because he came to bring us the light. We can't guide him. So we have to take heed, listen to the messenger, and move out on faith. Allah made it endearing and seemly to our hearts. He made us love the guidance that was given and made it appropriate for us to navigate with. That's what you do. Well, okay then. You will be remiss to not follow the guidance of Allah. You just would. I was remiss for a very long time. I was, if you've been listening to the podcast from the beginning, and if you haven't, go back and listen to the beginning. You can hear all my woes about the horrible life I used to live. I was in hell and didn't even know. And inshallah, I doubt that you're in hell if you're listening to this, because you're already seeking out, either you're in support of me or you're seeking out something to help yourself. So inshallah you're not. Second part of the reading is Surah 58, Ayat 22. The pleading. Oh my gosh, Alhamdulillah, we were just going over the pleading woman, or we were speaking about it on a Zoom call that I'm a part of the other day. Didn't realize this was that surah. Anyway, thou wilt not find a people who believe in Allah in the latter day, loving those who oppose Allah and his messenger, even though they be their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their kinsfolk. These are they into whose hearts he has impressed faith, and strengthened with them with a spirit from himself, and he will cause them to enter gardens wherein flow rivers, abiding therein. Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with him. These are Allah's party. No, surely it is Allah's party who are the successful. Alhamdulillah. Again, going back into these trying times, and it being judgment. It is the time of judgment, and believers are going to go with believers, non-believers with non-believers, and transgressors with the transgressors. Unfortunately, well, I don't want to say unfortunately, it just is what it is. Inshallah, we don't know. I don't know if I'm getting my golden ticket, so to speak. I am doing everything that I possibly can to stay dutiful and steadfast in prayer and my duties and my deen, to be qualified to go into the hereafter. There are nothing of this world will be allowed into the hereafter. It will be destroyed. So if you're so trapped mentally in this world, I mean, the chastisement will come down on you, because that is what his word has said. And it's just, I mean, that's just an obvious kind of thing. Some of our family members will be in that number of the chastised ones. That's a fact. I tell my daughter, you're not guaranteed to be in the hereafter either. You are intellectually sound. I view my daughter differently. I'm not sure how some people view their children, but I believe that Allah put something in her for her to really comprehend this at her young age of 10. And I know that it takes most people until adulthood to really comprehend and understand the teachings, and even have an inkling of comprehension of who Allah God is. But I believe that she can quite she can't do that. So I'm, imploring her for her own sake to really get into her studies. It's not like me doing this for me. I'm praying is for myself and for her, but she actively has to do it as well. I mean, it says in the Restrictive Law, Volume 2, that at the age of 10, if they're not getting up and doing their prayer, they, spare the rod, spoil the child. Why are you not? You know what's funny? Around this age of 10 now, she keeps screaming her independence. So if you're so independent, yeah, now you are now qualified for your own chastisement, because he's elevating you spiritually and mentally. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But so I get, if you have children, let them know they got to qualify themselves too. And no one's guaranteed anything. So I pray that Allah blessed you to receive something from this podcast today. I know I have. I know I need to continue to move out on faith. You cannot sit on faith. That's not faith. That's a lie. So I know I got some things going on with my bus build that I have to actively act out on in faith. So I'm going to get that done. And until next time, family, I pray that Allah gives you light, understanding, and keeps you on your deen and progresses you further in everything that you ask Allah to progress you in. And that's all. Peace, family.